So, warning, Bitcoin rarely does this, but it's about to do it. So let me explain what that is and how significant it really is. Crypto investors are definitely coming back full force, okay? A lot of interest ever since BlackRock, right? I'll get to that a little bit. But Bitcoin ETPs, which are similar to ETFs, there's a lot of ETPs around the world, and we're starting to see inflows, money flow into them by quite a lot. In fact, close to a billion, 25,202 Bitcoin, 760 million, so close to a billion, right, has come in within the last few weeks. Ever since BlackRock announced they were going to get involved. And then this is what I want to show you guys. This is what Bitcoin is about to do, and it rarely crosses. You can see Bitcoin's history. It's only been 3 times when Bitcoin has crossed the SMA 100 weekly. Okay, it's kind of like, it's kind of one of those moving averages. That's very important. If you look at the bigger picture, the longer scale, when Bitcoin crosses below, it's negative. It's not good. But when it crosses above, it's really good. And it stays really good for quite a long time. Quite a long time, right? 2012, when it happened, Bitcoin went up 45,000%. Then in 2017, when it crossed, went up 5,000%. All right? 2020 happened, went up 1,000%. So what is it going to be this time, right? May not be 1,000%. It may be 500%. Well, 500% would still be pretty darn good. That would push Bitcoin up to around 200,000 for this cycle. But maybe it's not 500. Maybe it is a 600, 700, 800, or maybe it is 1,000%. That would push Bitcoin to over $300,000, right? But rarely does this happen for Bitcoin. And it's about to happen right now, okay? It is very close. Most of you guys know Cathie Wood from ARK Invest still thinks Bitcoin is going to go to $1.5 million. More so now than ever before. Now, ARK Invest, in case you haven't seen this before, but they put out this price target for 2030 for Bitcoin. Worst case scenario, the bearish scenario, 260,000. Then 682,000, like a base level, normal, about 700,000. And then absolutely the best bullish scenario is 1.5 million. Now, Cathie Wood went on air today with Bloomberg and stated how they are more bullish now than ever before. They think it's more likely for Bitcoin to be at 1.5 million by 2030 than 690,000. And the reason being, she believes that Bitcoin has shown that it can be a store of value and a safe haven. She made the correlation. She talked about how when regional banks were failing, that's when Bitcoin actually rallied, right? So she believes as we move forward, we will see more people turn to Bitcoin as a safe haven, as a hedge against inflation, especially if there's more bank weakness or bank failure, or just growing distrust in governments will lead people to the promised land, which is Bitcoin. And that's why she's more bullish now than ever that Bitcoin is going to hit a 1.5 million by 2030. Now, that's 2 cycles, okay? So our current cycle will end in 2025. Then we will start another cycle where we have like a year of downtrend, which will go into 2026. 2026 will be the year of recovery. 2027 and 2028, right, is when we're going to get that next rise until 2029, and 2030 is the bear. I think that's how it is. Yes, something like that, right? So that's 2 cycles now from now, but still, who's going to give up on $1.5 million per Bitcoin? That would mean per 0.1 Bitcoin, just 0.1 Bitcoin would be $150,000. Think about that. Okay, 0.01 would still be what, 15,000? And this kind of shows you how early things really are for not only Bitcoin, but for all of crypto, for Web3 in general. I mean, you look at, these are things that we use, right? Obviously, the telephone, electricity, cars, color TV, air travel, right? Video games, social media, smartphone. With every innovation, the adoption curve is decreased, right? But obviously, early on, for electricity and cars and I don't know what else is there. The fridge, radio. They took a while before getting to 100% adoption, right? They took decades upon decades, or even a full century before reaching mass adoption. Okay, but obviously, the technology like, the internet, and then cell phones, social media, smartphones, tablets, their adoption rate is much faster. But look at Bitcoins, right? Like, as much as we think Bitcoin, as much as we think Bitcoin has reached maturity, let's say, okay, we're nowhere close, okay, to 100% adoption, nowhere close. 20% adoption, nowhere close. I don't even know what percentage adoption. Worldwide adoption, maybe 1% at most, right? But imagine when Bitcoin is adopted by 20% or 40% of the world, right? It's going to be a very different landscape. And when Web3 takes over, and Web4 and Web5, when decentralization and self-custody and I don't know what else, when all these things take over, right? Mostly decentralization. But when our future dApps are all going to be powered by the blockchain or powered by Ledger and will allow you to have true ownership over your currency, your money, your assets, your even in-game items, right? It's going to be very different in the future. But right now, we are just so early. And that's great because while it's early, you could get in cheap. Sharks and whales have accumulated 71,000 more Bitcoin in the last 3 weeks. That's a lot. Okay, so it's not just money flowing into ETPs I just covered, and there will be billions upon billions to trillions flowing into spot ETFs when they come out. But right now, there are definitely a lot of you guys are shrimps and whales, right? You guys have been accumulating 71,000 Bitcoins within the last 3 weeks. See, this is the time to be accumulating while things are still cheap. Right. Later on, they won't be. When that adoption curve for Bitcoin starts growing, Bitcoin may be over $1 million each by then. Okay, it is the scarcest asset, the hardest asset we have known to man, and it's the only non-sovereign asset that we have also. No one controls it. No one. No single entity, no single country, no company, no individual controls Bitcoin. And that's very different from everything else.